assumption. Do you have any idea about how good
It's actually also an interesting investigation. I mean, if those changes are done, because the number of changes are a lot, so it's not possible to analyze them manually, but it will be interesting to see if those changes are really due to the anti-patterns or due to the, if really those changes degrade the implementation or design. But this is really in the assumption level and it's high level.
It's difficult to. We need to go into actual changes and see if.
And then without actual developers,
this is definitely. That's good to have that word after.
That might be another study related to the impact. Wherever they study the impact analysis.
And in the presentation, you were very careful to talk about the link between the anti-patterns and the number of changes. Because it's not a causal link, right? It's really a link. So sometimes in the thesis, you drop to the causal interpretation. And there can be, what other type of interpretation, what other type of reasons would we think that would explain the correlation? Any,
why those...
which are not due to anti-patterns per se, or why not? Because anti-patterns are perturbed.
At this moment, I don't have any clue, but it might be also it might be also case that it's addition of new methods or new functionalities. Those changes, so that those not necessarily related to anti-pattern, but it's an enhancement or.
One possible explanation is that good coders use patterns, and bad coders don't know what they
don't care about patterns,
and they don't really code that. So that might be one thing also we want to look at this possible link. And another, because you had at some point you look at 3 patterns out of the 8, three anti-patterns out of the 8 anti-patterns. And for these 3 anti-patterns, you did find a significant change, significant changes. We're talking in terms of number of changes. What about the others?
Others, for example, here. So those 3 anti-patterns are high change prone. To me, what I guess because of they involve other services. So, for example, service chain or God component, they involve other services as well. So if one component or one service change and it causes also change to other, so naturally it will increase the change proneness. For all the related services. But if we have, for example, bloated service, and it involves only one particular component or one single interface that doesn't affect or doesn't require to interact with other services. So the changes required for this component will be only focused on one component. So number of changes can be very less due to this nature.
So can we conclude from this that these particular anti-patterns have more impact on code changes or suggest more impact on code changes?
Yeah, and this was a subset of anti-patterns. We out of 31, we had I think 13 from SCA, and those were really particular to SCA. And we did this study only on SCA applications, so it might be different for web services or REST. So we also want to see what is the impact as a future work on the web services and REST domain.
Okay, I think I'll stop here for now.
Okay. Well, supervisors?
So first I would like to thank you. It was a great pleasure to have you as my first PhD student. Regarding questions, I'm back just to, we try, in this thesis, we try to provide a common and generic approach that encompass different technologies. So, and I'm not asking a question, but I'm just gonna come back to one of the questions of Eleni regarding to meta abstraction and the unified meta model. So we follow like a bottom-up approach, and we try to handle the different technology first separately to well understand them, and then so we specifically provide an approach for each of the technology and try to identify the commonalities through these meta abstractions. And for sure, our first impression was that the different technologies have commonalities, but in fact, we did not really
Find that much commonalities, yeah.
yeah, but for sure this meta abstraction and this unified abstraction was guided by our first impression, but just helped us in understanding the different technology, but in fact did not allow us to provide this common DSL, because the technologies are really specific and different.
Yeah, the way they are implemented with concepts and the notion.
So that was how the problem we faced too, but initially was to provide a common and generic approach from the beginning until the end. So that's I have another comment. I did appreciate the question related to how do you differentiate between anti-patent to be fixed and the one that on real bad practices, and in fact this is more related to the corrective approach and will be probably another thesis and was not.
I think even the literature is not so well matured, not even for the detection of anti-patent service domain, but the next studies are really, need lots of effort to even define the problem. Those problems are even not well defined.
Yeah, it will be a completely different thesis that may take also 4 years to handle. I have actually one question. Why did you choose to specify the anti-patent using a DSL? And you said previously that you did not tune your rules. So what was the point of the DSL if you did not change the rules?
In tuning the rules, maybe what I answered your questions half. So maybe I can come back to his question, and then maybe I can come back to you. So we didn't tune the rule cards after during the validation, but we tuned it when we are defining it. So for example, we have a group of people, group of expertise who are defining the rule cards, and we come to a conclusion that all agreed that okay, this is the not underdefined or not overdefined state of anti-patterns that can be applied now to detect them. So it's not cross-validation, but it's kind of coming to agreement with a group of people. So we specified in that way. So we fine-tune in the pre-stage of our detection, but not during the our detection or after our detection. So maybe coming back to your question. So the DSM was our choice of representation of the anti-patterns using a language is because it's context-free, first of all. So you can fit any technology based on their domain concepts and entities. And second of all, if you define the anti-pattern based on the DSM, and based on your system you found that that rule card you defined is not well detected or not well working, you can adapt based on those values or constructs that you provided in the DSM. So it's flexible, it's adaptable, as well as it's context free. So, and it's also better than ad hoc and detection algorithm. So it provides automation. That's the main benefit of the DSM.
So that was the point, to have the DSL, a high level language that
And also it's regardless of the ambiguity. So, I mean, a textual description of anti-patterns can have different perception for 5 different people, but with a root card or with a language that is beyond the ambiguity, there will be only one interpretation of the anti-pattern.
So, and my last question was, so in the process of the generation, so the input you have, so it's your raw cards,
Yeah.
because I think it was not necessarily clear exactly the input, and I do understand
Yeah, this is basically not the input, but it was our meta model that we started with, or validated the rule curves. But yeah, the real inputs was the rule, where what is written by the engineers and developers. Yeah.
and so you visit the rules, you pass them,
Yeah.
you have the instances of these rules, and then based on the different metrics and the different
The corresponding values. Yeah. We replace those metrics and values.
in the template and generate the code. And all the point of the generation is to have this automatic process that enable you from the high-level language to generate the
Yeah,
automatic
very
code
concrete. Yeah, detection algorithm. Yeah.
and not implement directly.
Not manually implement. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And do you have something to?
Well, no, I mean, I was just happy to work with you.
Okay, I was also happy to work with you both.
I was happy to sign all your paperwork. But maybe I have a very general question. We talk enough about your thesis, so now let's take a step back. And I was wondering if, based on all your experience that you have now, with the rest, so SCA, could you actually, do you think you could actually now come up and, let's say your first PhD student, your PhD student, could actually work on a new technology that could be actually better than everything that exists?
Okay.
Do you think we could do
Then I should myself, I mean, I should be a new fielding Roy. So, so until and unless I think there is no alternative than HTTP or HTTP based interaction. Yeah, there should be first new medium of communication. So until and unless there is no better medium of communication than HTTP based protocols and other things, you cannot cross the limit of the technology itself. There should be first something to.
So we are really stuck with all the technology.
Currently, yes.
Thank you.
But for example, before there was SOAP, so many companies were using SOAP, but there was better technology after inventing REST, so they are not relying on RPC things. So they are really using the real web. So I think that is the limit currently we are in now, but if there's some technologies in the future, I think there is some developed by IBM, I think. I mean, it's better even than HTTP. But I don't remember the name.
As you say, they don't use HTTP anymore.
Yeah.
They go beyond the protocol.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I have no particular questions, but maybe a marginal one concerning the definition of service-based systems.
Yeah.
Okay, you started from a very standard definition and a very generic one.
The generic one.
Okay, and you define a new one.
A new one.
And you say that it's a generalization of the old one.
Yeah.
Would you explain a little? Because for me, I'm a little bit confused because the first one was quite abstract, so quite general. In which way do you generalize this? From my point of view, you specialize this.
As far as I remember, I think we defined it in one of our journal, but the first definition, the original definition,
What the original one? Yeah,
it didn't incorporate the technologies and the notion of technologies and the services that are developed using those technologies. Because currently in a service-based system, there is not only a SOAP service, there is not only a SCA service, SCA component, a system can have different types of services. So it can be RESTful, it can be non-REST services. So service-based systems incorporate different types of technology. Not only is technology, there is not only one technology within the service these days. So the definition of service-based system doesn't mean that it's only using services or it's only using SOAP or it's only using REST. It's using any kind of technologies within the boundary.
So you have specialized
I specialize, yeah.
So you did not generalize it. So, and what's the impact of this, well, which is not a generalization, if it's not a generalization, what's the impact of this on your work? Why did you need to make this generalization?
There was no necessity, but there was prerequisite to consider service-based systems, what can incorporate different technologies. And if we take the definition of service-based systems without considering the technology or without incorporating the technology, that means we are not aware of that different technology and their uses within the service domain or within the system in a certain context. So what I did first is to have a definition first that says that service-based systems are developed with services, and those services can be developed ranging different technologies. So it's incorporate different technologies. Then if we analyze service-based systems, that means we are analyzing all the technologies, not only one particular technology.
Okay, but as your definition is less general than the standard one, maybe all your framework is not applicable on any SBS.
But that
Would be the case.
That we were showing that our framework is applicable to different technologies, and I think that was the reason I added the notion of technologies within the definition.
And that's all for me. Well, Dr. Shula, would you have something else to add to your first round? Dr. Shula?
Sorry, I was muted. I have one more question about the implementation of the code generation. What tools did you use for your DSL and code production?
Yeah, I forgot to mention during my presentation. So all this generation process is basically supported by EMF framework from Eclipse.
Good.
And in particular, we used E4 meta model and for the generation of the.
Okay.
Because
okay.
it provides a
That's
very good sets of large sets of tool sets by EMF. So
essentially, just so that I understand the implementation organization, you have a framework that collects the metrics, and that's separate. And then you have your DSL of rule cards,
yeah.
And you are producing for every rule card
detection algorithm.
A class
Yeah.
that uses the API of the metrics component
Yeah.
to recognize the rule cards.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good with that. So basically, to go back a little bit more on the syntactic, how does this implementation, how does this design change? Will you have a new component for your syntactic regular expressions on the REST code, or what? How do you see extending your rule card language to take care of REST and patterns?
Thank you. Since our previous works also based on rules, and the papers we published on REST was not based on rules, metrics. So first thing would be to identify what type of metrics can be calculated on REST anti-patterns, in the REST domain, and then incorporate also how we can construct the rule cards. So of course the rule cards is a combination of rules, but first of all I think the metrics, the extraction of metrics that are really REST specific is the first step, and then we can see if we can extend or add some more construct within the DSL, because for example DSL currently we have, it defines all the constructs, all the possible constructs or relationships within components and services, but it might be the case that REST has different structure of interaction, different structure of communication between services even.
Okay, so here's another variant of the same question. Do you think that you will be able to extend your DSL, or do you think that you will scrape what you have and have a new version that will be substantially different in order to be inclusive of the rest anti-patterns?
Yeah, thank you. I think I will be able to extend the DSL.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
It's not bad if you have to scrape it, by the way, but explain to me how you're going to extend it.
We can have, for example, first of all, new metrics, then new values. So those.
But what will be the metrics? You're not looking for metrics anymore. You're looking for these syntactic regular expressions, if you will. Am I correct? Am I missing the point here?
If I give you an example,
Yeah.
for example, TLP metrics, that is very REST specific, and it says that total number of links within the response body, so or request body. So in this way, so we analyze or we investigate the response body, and we count the number of links in the body, and we say that okay, for this metric we found the value of 1 or 2.
So do you think all the rest anti-patterns will be reduced to metrics calculations also?
This is our next challenge,
Okay.
our current challenge.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, I'm good.
Okay. Does anybody have a new question or that? So if the committee is over with their question, maybe the audience can have any question? Somebody would like to make an intervention here?
Yeah, I have a quick question. In the case of the REST services that you used only some that were not, didn't have a formally specified interface, right? The ones that you have to read the documentation and you have to hack accordingly. Now, there is a standard that is not used uniformly to specify interfaces. So how would you use your approach, or what would you do differently to deal with cases where your interface is actually sane instead of crazy?
Even if we have a well-defined interfaces,
Yes.
that would be even much better. I think, for example, what Eleni was asking, what's the, how we can automate, or how we can detect anti-patterns, or how we can incorporate REST in your DSL. So there is a standard called the WSDL 2.0. So like WSDL in some web services, it defines all the resources and what is the method to access those resources. So if we have really such well-defined interfaces like in REST, like in web services, it will be much easier to make it metric-based and to adapt those metrics and add those metrics in our DSL. So it will be even much easier to automate the process.
Okay, but how will it be much easier?
You mean how easier
Yeah,
it will be?
because I'm telling you, essentially, well, if I give you more information that you can use, then your job is easier, which is what everyone would expect. So, in what you have now, how would you be able to take what you have and move from ad hoc REST services, which require custom code for each and every one of them, to something that would be generated like you have for SOAP?
Yeah, for example, for REST, we are now implementing the clients manually. So from the specification of WSDL 2.0, you can automate the process of generation clients that are invoking some resources or doing, invoking some methods.
Okay.
So I don't see any complexity. If they have really, that's one of the major challenges that we faced. I mean, there was no standardized specification for the REST. If we really had this, I mean, didn't have to do all this work manually, and it would make us life more easier.
Okay. So then my next question is, knowing what you know now, would you instead have created those interfaces from the specification and then let the code generator do the hard work? Or would you still do what you've done with the manual code?
No, I will do that with the next one, the later one, the first one. Because manual code is really, it's really hard to write and to validate and validate results and empirically both afterwards and also before to make sure that what I am detecting is good enough or fair enough.
Any question? So if there's no any other questions, well, we would ask you to leave the room while the committee is raised.